All right, we are back and we're going to chat a little bit about Women's Super League. Let's talk about FAWSL. We want to start by chatting about Sam Kerr because if you don't know, you need to know, and you're late. I hate to break it to you. Sam Kerr, the phenomenal Sam Kerr, Women's Super League Player of the Year at the London Football Awards. Congrats to her.
Massive for a player like Sam Kerr. I don't think this is a big surprise for anyone. I mean, not for me, but it's really exciting to have her be awarded and honored with it. It's so well deserved for a player like Kerr. Honestly, I like this and what she's done not only internationally because this is the London Awards, but with Chelsea, with this team. And this all kind of happening the same weekend. Women's Super League gets to play against United, and they end up taking the win on a goal from Sam Kerr, take the top of the table in the Super League. But yeah, there's a lot of competition in the Super League for this player of the year, right? When you look at some of the teammates Sam Kerr has, and then you look at someone like a Bunny Shaw, who is breaking records left, right, and center for City as well.
I'm thrilled with the news of Sam Kerr picking up another accolade. Like, listen, we're coming off of a FIFA Best, right? And we chatted a bit about the players who were finalists. We chatted a bit about players who weren't finalists. Sam Kerr was one of those players. We had a little bit of fun about, when it comes to the top three for the finalists, who do you rotate out to pull in? But, I think Sam Kerr makes a pretty strong case and strong argument for herself on the pitch. So cool to see her get the WSL Player of the Year at the London Football Awards right off of that victory. Because in the last episode when we were chatting about Women's Super League, we're talking about how it's getting to this phase of this stretch of the season where everything is getting so tight, kind of at that top of the table, where maybe right 1 through 3, but even 1 through 4. And so to have that kind of, even though it's a narrow win, it's a huge win. It's almost like one of those kind of 6-point swing type of games when you sort of take down another team that is also vying for top place in the standings. So congrats to her. Congrats to Bunny Shaw, who just keeps like scoring at a ridiculous rate in the Women's Super League, breaking Man City's highest scoring player in a single season. Shout out to Bunny Shaw. Shout out to Jamaica's reggae girl. Shout out to, CONCACAF. We love to see it. We love to chat about it. And the season's not over. So the fact that she's already, set a record in a single season and that there's still more like in front of this player, it's a little scary. I'm kind of wondering like what that final number is actually going to be for Bunny Shaw. So we'll see. Got to keep an eye on that. But there's also some changes happening in the league. We got to chat a little bit about Tottenham. And I remember when we were doing a preview on this, we thought, maybe Tottenham's going to be one of these teams that can be one of those any given Sunday kind of teams. Maybe kind of surprise you, maybe stay healthy, middle of the table. It's been tough for Spurs fans out there. They recently announced that they have sacked manager Rian Skinner. 9 losses in a row. Hard to come back from that, I think.
It's rough. Yeah, it was a tough season for Skinner, for Tottenham. They're only a couple points off the bottom of the table, a couple points away from relegation. And that's something that as a club, as owners, you really have to look at that. Skinner took over Tottenham in November of 2022. And she formerly before that was the English assistant coach for the national team. And since 2022 coming into Tottenham, I mean, when she took over Tottenham, they were only like 2-3 points off the bottom of the table at that point anyway. But the fact that Skinner wasn't really able to turn anything around this year, wasn't able to generate any wins. I mean, 9 Super League losses in a row that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. So they end up saying that we're going to get rid of Rian Skinner. She's going to depart from the club. It's rough since 2020, since she was involved and as head manager of this club. They're 10th in the table, right? 2 points from the bottom at this point. It's not great. It's not looking good.
No, it's not great. But I think maybe if you're looking for a silver lining in this, like there's still a a certain stretch of the season where perhaps you could continue to try and string together some respectable performances, get results, points wherever you can get them, and continue to try to start off something like relegation. Not where we thought we were going to see this team at this point in the season. Again, we were like, oh yeah, they'll be like a healthy middle of the pack kind of table. Even at one point saying like maybe they'll contend for fifth. No, that has not been the case. 11 losses, but 9 in a row is just like really, really. I have to imagine mentally, that's a drain on the players. Trying to sort of slug through an ongoing season and trying to make signings where they can, or trying to make decisions where they can to better the team moving forward. And you have to anticipate that this maybe at this point, when you have as many losses as you have, as many 9 in a row at that point, perhaps the writing is on the wall. Like what's the move that you make to try to either save your season or wake up this season? And it's sort of, kind of starts and ends a lot of times with the coach.
I mean, yeah, it does. And they've already got an interim, Vicky Jepson, and Tottenham has a match today against Leicester. So there was a bit of media availability with Jepson, basically just saying how it's been difficult and emotional, and watching Skinner leave the building. She put a good foundation down there. I mean, I think it's also a little bit tricky because from my understanding, there's no hard feelings between what this coach did. It's more just like, hey, you couldn't string wins together. You're not helping this team improve and get better. We need just a shake up at this point. It is Lucy in our chat joining us live on YouTube. She's always got great insights. This is exactly what I thought too, Lucy, that it's very similar to what we saw New Jersey, New York,
Gotham-esque.
Yes, last year, where they had Scott Parkinson as their new head coach. And it was nothing really that Scott Parkinson did. It's more so that he just couldn't generate wins. He couldn't get the team on the same page. And once you lose the locker room at that point, the club has to do something to shake things up. And that's when they brought in Hugh Menzies for Gotham last year. I think it's almost very similar vibes.
I don't think that's unfair. I actually think that's a good way to put it. Shout out to Lucy for saying that it's Gotham-esque. I mean, it really kind of is. I think when you sort of lay it out, even going into the year prior, I mean, that's sort of why we were high on Tottenham as much as we were. I mean, they closed out their previous season in fifth, and you have to anticipate that maybe there's added motivation there to continue to get better. Maybe, punch your way, bully your way into that, top four or even top three. But it just didn't happen this year. And now they're starving off, we keep saying this, keep trying to fight off relegation. I mean, they've got that match later on today, and it almost sort of feels like a bit of a wooden spoon, kind of thing. You've got number 10, versus number 12 at this point. So we'll see. We'll see what happens next for Tottenham. Is this the move that maybe, kind of propels them to, like I said, kind of fight for those points and kind of make sure that they stay away from relegation? We'll see. We'll probably have another update sooner.
They're at 10 right now. They've only got Brighton below them, and then Leicester, who they actually play today at 3:00 Eastern. Tottenham with 9 points and Leicester with 7. Of course, Brighton at 11th place. They've got 8 points, so really 2 points off the bottom. It's tough.
It's wild to think. That's what I'm saying. That's why I keep referring it to a wooden spoon.
If they could pick up a tie against Leicester today, that would be better.
Don't lose. Like, that's the energy right now.
And it's like all 11 players just stand in front of the goal. Don't let any goals in.
It's just like wild to think about. It's just and it's like it's something like this shouldn't feel like a must win, when you're looking at the table of those things, but it just sort of kind of has that a little bit of that feeling. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. We'll see. Unless you're a Leicester City fan, maybe you're going the other way for that one. But let's stay on the international side of things. We will have an update for France and their women's national team on Thursday, March the 9th. It was official. Manager Kerr and Chelsea had been fired by the French Football Federation. This is the final piece, I guess, to this ongoing puzzle. There were multiple players who had refused to play during her time as management. We chatted a bit about the rumor of her Renard possibly replacing Diacre as head coach, but ultimately the termination came via recommendation of an executive committee. There, after a number of players, mainly Wendie Renard, making a public statement that they can no longer play under these conditions in the culture of the team culture at this moment. It really kind of escalated some things. They asked the players to hold off on any major decisions, that they wanted to have ongoing conversations and try to find a resolution. And there were meetings that were held, or obviously we chatted about the rumors, but now there is an official termination, and we'll see what happens next in
Yeah.
terms of who's going to lead this team into the World Cup. We're just
Yeah.
4 months out at this point.
Very soon, very soon. But I think the way that the FFF handled this situation, all things considered, pretty good. Like, I mean, obviously it's bad that they let it get to this
Yeah,
point. That, like, right, there's so many things that went wrong, but the fact that they had some star players, Wendie Renard being one of them, the star defender of the world, essentially, saying that I'm not going to play under this coach if that's how it's going to happen. I think that was a bit of a wake up call that the France Football Federation needed to hear. And then they were kind of like, okay, we got to fire this coach, because there's
yeah,
a lot of like statements being made before this firing actually happened, with Kerr and Chelsea saying like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying with this club or with this nation, and with this team. And then the FFF being like, yeah, we control this. No,
just
you're
yeah.
fired.
I was like, bold move, Cotton. Let's see how
Dude,
it plays
when
out.
I saw
They
that
just
statement, I
dug
was
their
like,
heels in. I was like, what are you
what are
doing?
you doing? Stop making statements. Whoever her PR team is, like, you gotta go, because that was like the worst thing to say. Because within like hours, I'm telling you, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, FFF was like, "Yeah, you're fired. Goodbye." But with all of that news, Wendie Renard has reopened the door to playing for France for the World Cup. She basically came out and made a statement and said, "Hey, now that Diacre isn't the manager anymore, I would like to come back. I'm willing to do that if I get an invitation and a call up to the national team.
Yeah,
I will show up at camp and I will be there." This just comes right like a month after Renard was like, I mental health reasons. There's a lot of different reasons, but she's not going to represent France. And now changes are made like this. I think it's good for French fans, right? If you're, it's good for like football fans in general, just world football fans, because I want to see Wendie Renard play at the World Cup.
yeah, you
So I'm
and me
excited
both,
about
pal.
this.
Listen, it's I'm with you in that it's unfortunate that I had to get to this point, especially when there were just already like signs, like those red flags were kind of just already there, and yet, this coach has been with the team since 2017. They extended her contract. The federation just really saying like, yeah, this is going to be the coach, because it
Mhm.
doesn't matter how your comfortability or how you feel about it. And that's really, really unfortunate to see and to know and to hear that that ultimately was the case. But perhaps this, like we just talked about Tottenham a little bit, maybe this is the thing that kind
Yeah.
of reinvigorates the team moving forward, in light of a World Cup. Because I think if you're any team heading to this World Cup and you're ranked within the top 10 of those teams, any of those top 10 ranked national teams can go ahead and have the better of another top ranked team on any day. So I think if you're France, you want to very quickly try to turn the page on this, and turn the focus back on preparation
Yeah.
for the World Cup. So just one of many teams that we're trying to keep an eye on. But these are the most updates that we have right now for France. I know folks are still watching what's happening with Canada soccer and their national team, with Spain and then their national team. Not a ton of updates as of right now for those two teams, but when they drop, absolutely, we're going to chat about them